Welcome to Cyber Inspiration Podcast. My name is Evgeniy. I have been around cybersecurity for the last 20 years and I have a lot of experience working with a variety of cybersecurity vendors. My main work is vendor consulting and cybersecurity advisory for companies. As part of my passion in technology and cyber, I've been intrigued to learn how a company starts. I started the podcast to understand the thinking process and what motivated people to start their own company. This podcast is affiliated with Security Architecture Podcast. I have a pleasure today to talk to Eric from Albarius. It's a very, very interesting topic, and I've been in this industry for a long time, so I definitely want to learn the inspiration and the motivation to start the company. Eric, please tell us about yourself and the company.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me. Let me start with how my journey started almost 20 years ago in Unit 8200 in the IDF, when I got first into cybersecurity. And back then, we just called it security, wasn't even cyber back then. And I got started with my journey there. And I used to work and take charge of all the security of the organization, from endpoint security to network security, user data, and everything else in between. And after I finished my service in the unit, I wanted to continue with that and keep working on security. And one of the things that I got most into after I left the unit was network security. It was one of the fields that I felt most connected to, like understanding network topologies, understanding the connections and everything else, just felt the most, let's say, native to me. So I continued doing that. And with a lot of customers that I worked with, I always saw the same problem on all of them, how to properly manage the network security policies there. And at some point, I've decided that I don't want to depend on external systems and platforms anymore, because I couldn't find any one of them that gave me the exact thing that I was looking for. So that's why I decided to develop our own platform that could provide all the things that I, as a customer, was looking for.
It's interesting because I know you started the development before the hype with ChatGPT and generative AI started.
Yeah.
You already had an idea to use AI before. Tell me a bit about this.
Yeah, correct, exactly. Because the point is that every organization is a bit different from every other organization, whether they have different applications or system, or maybe their users are using those platforms in a different manner. So the only thing that I thought that could truly understand that other than a human is an AI platform, because you need to understand patterns, usages, what types of applications they have. And that means you need to have some sort of intelligence inside of the platform that you can't achieve in any, let's say, technical or mechanical systems. You need to have something more than that. And that's why when we started, we implemented some of our own AI models in the platform, and we keep expanding them as time goes on, and of course, as more features we add to the platform.
So you have an interesting idea. How do you test that somebody else cares about your idea beside you?
Yeah. So usually the beginning is discovery calls with several different customers or potential customers, CISOs, CIOs maybe in our case. But our start was a bit easier because the idea came to me when I was sitting with a customer and trying to recommend him on how to improve his own security. So basically the first speech that I've done was like 2 minutes after I came up with the idea to a CIO. So I just asked him, hey, if I give you this type of application that could automate this entire process for you, that manually you understand it might take you maybe even a couple of years. And using the automation that I recommend, it could like be done in maybe 3 to 6 months. Would you pay for it? And this specific CIO like pretty much immediately accepted that. And we had our first customer or design partner like kind of built in with our process. And afterwards, we kept, of course, talking with more CIOs and CISOs, and we understood that this product had a lot of benefits and potential in the market, and there is an actual like addressable market. And there are a lot of different companies, various sizes, medium to large enterprises that are willing to pay for something like this.
Management in network security is not new. It's been around for a long time. Even people ask, like, why you? Like, how you really different, and why the other one cannot just add AI and say they're doing the same as you?
Yeah. So the issue with the, let's say, legacy markets is that they pretty much became kind of stale. They just kept doing what they were doing 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and they didn't improve and expand on the information, the knowledge, and the capabilities that they had back then. And that's why we decided that disrupting this market is the way to go, because the technology and everything else in every other space in this field, for example, what Palo Alto is doing with the application security and all the new technologies that all other vendors came out with, they kept progressing. But the management parts, like the tools that helps manage those technologies, didn't improve. So we needed to create a new application, a new platform that can manage those new technologies, working on dynamic, for example, dynamic objects, dynamic things instead of working with static ones, understanding micro-segmentation instead of just working with regular segmentation in older legacy on-prem networks and so on, and working with hybrid environments and not just either cloud or on-prem and so on. So all of these things weren't done in any other place, and we wanted to do that.
That makes sense. Did you went and raise money, or you started to develop yourself?
No, we actually didn't. And even up to this point, we haven't raised any external funds. We've done everything that we've done with our own, me and my co-founders. And so technically, we're still bootstrapped. And I think we've achieved some great things using our own capabilities, our own money, and of course, with revenue from our customers that help us with both features and with like partnerships with us.
People listening to us right now, and some of them going and like definitely seeing when you create a startup, you need to have to go and raise money. Can you maybe explain your decisions, why you decided to stay nimble and do development by yourself?
Yeah. We were in a point when, like I said, we already kind of had customers, like paying customers that decided to purchase our product. And that's why at that point we've decided to wait a bit until we raise some funds, because when you start raising, you give up a certain amount of your company, and it's always the same amount. But when your company grows, you have bigger revenue, your ARR grows. The more you have, the bigger the investments you can get. And so sometimes it's smarter to wait a bit of time if you can and raise a bigger amount, and not just start with a smaller in the beginning and then just give up like a third of your company away. And also it's pretty hard to find a good VC or a good investment that is the same, like in the same state of mind as you are and so on. So there were a lot of different points that just came together and made us decide that.
Sense. Um, Now I'm wondering, it's not easy. You're working long hours. It's a lot of work. How do you stay creative? What help you to keep the drive going?
So I think one of the most important things is keep learning. Understand that you never know everything. You always have things to learn from other people, especially people that are experts in their field, such as yourself. And keep communicating with CISOs, reading books on the matter. Subject matter is also very important. Talking with other founders of other startups, especially in your own field, like cybersecurity. And I do have friends that are startup founders, and it helps a lot with that, because you have somebody that passed and went through the same things as you are going through now, and you can always ask them, what did you do in that case? What would you do in this case? And so on. And of course, you never just take a single truth that people tell you as something like objectively, like an objective truth, but it's important to hear a lot of different ideas on the matter.
Now, with being a founder, there's many, many tasks you need to do. How do you stay on top of the task? Is there a secret to make sure on how you prioritize stuff?
Not sure it's a secret, and I don't think there's a secret, at least not one that I know of. But one of the things is having the correct people that you can delegate and make sure that they keep on top of things that you can't. And the other one is working correctly with time management, like managing your time correctly, keeping track of information as needed. And there's a lot of different platforms that you can use to like take notes, maybe create your own task list, make sure that you are keeping up with it, using a lot of like the calendar making sure that everything is noted there which is needed and so on. But a lot of it is just making sure that you're working correctly and in an orderly fashion.
When you start your own journey, majority of the people have an idea, but then the idea may change a bit, may kind of alternate because of customer demands. Is your idea stay the same as the beginning? And the second question is, was there something like a customer that really showed you on the correct track beside the first customers that told you they want to buy it?
So the base idea did remain the same, but it got expanded a lot with our customers and the feature requests they had, and even like potential customers that came to us and said, it would be great and we would want to buy you, but maybe if you just had this feature and that feature, or we have this specific scenario or this specific use case that we want to solve because this is our pain point, and are you doing that, and so on. So we took a lot of those things and combined them with our initial idea and then expanded on it. I think, let's say, the base of the product that is kind of 20% right now is what was the original idea, while 80% is all the additions and all the new things that we added along the way. So we didn't pivot, but we did expand a lot.
Okay, and the second question, was there like an event, a customer that really, really showed you that you're on the correct path?
I don't think there was one specific customer, but I think that a lot of them together made us understand that we need to make those expansions and make those adjustments, because when you hear that from several people, of course, it makes a lot more sense than just one person, because you don't want to tailor your product to a single customer. You want to make sure that you have an actual market, and there's a lot of different companies and customers that would purchase that specific product or that specific platform.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to become a development shop for one customer. You
Yeah.
mentioned something about customers saying, oh, if you do XYZ, we'll buy it. So what do you do? Do you tell the customer, buy my product and I will develop this in 2, 3, 5, 6 months? Or you go and develop and come back?
Yeah. It's more the first one, but we do also provide something on our side before we can get their approval or their commitment, because we want to also show our commitment to them, to the process. So whether it's planning and creating the product design, or showcasing how we would do it, maybe making, let's say, not an MVP exactly, but at least some sort of a mock-up, showing that, hey, we can do that, and that we are committed to the process. And if they purchase it or they pay for it, they will get it for sure, and not as a promise that might get like that might happen like in a year in the future or more than that, because that's something that I encountered as a personal experience from companies that I worked with, and I don't want to do the same. I want to my customers to be safe. When they purchase something or pay for something, they will get it.
Makes sense. If you can go back to the beginning, would you do anything differently?
Mm. I think there are some things that I would do differently, but just with the knowledge that I have now on how to manage things, maybe which people to get in the company, which people maybe not to hire, like hire or not hire, and those kind of things. Because let's say the culture and the values of the company are built, they're decided early on, but they build and they're expanded as time goes on. And along the way, you understand that some people are not a good fit to the company, and maybe you shouldn't have hired them in the first place. But again, it's something that you only know in hindsight. But there are some changes that I would do. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the culture? Like, what does the culture mean for you and for your company?
Yeah. So I think it's more of a, let's say, a shared values and more value based, other and not just plain culture, because culture as it's used right now in the startup sphere is a bit more like generic, like everyone should drink in a happy hour once a week or something like that. And that's not the point of it. I want our people to have shared values, like the importance of transparency, creating good things. And I don't know, there's a lot of different like values that I specifically value, like loyalty maybe, and others. And those are the things that we are looking at the basis, and then expand on the more cultural like items, like creating like shared spaces, how we communicate with each other, and everything else on top of that. But the values, I think, are the most important to start with.
And about values and talking about communication, you have partners, you have co-founders, and I'm sure sometimes there is disagreements. You guys are able to build a resolution framework. How do you solve problems?
Yeah, yeah, of course. We known each other for over 10 years now with the co-founders, and we have built a lot of different, let's say, ways that we communicate because we know each other already. And some people are used to one sort of communication because there are different communication types, and we know with whom to speak with which communication type. The ones that are more, let's say, technicals, you know how to reach them better, how to explain better your point, and if you have a disagreement, you know how to conclude like on what to do and where to go. With management type more, you have a different sort of, let's say, communication type that you can perform to convince them to either go your way or for them to convince you, or maybe of course meet in the middle, which is the best case scenario most of the times.
With everything moving to like digital, by digital I mean we have a lot of communication now with Zoom, Google Meets,
Yeah.
Teams. What is your recommendation you take on soft skills and communication in general?
Yeah. So basically, because communication is one of the most important soft skills, and I think we can all agree on that, then it is important and critical to understand and get used to how to communicate properly online and not just physically, because it's way easier and it's much simpler to communicate when you're face to face with someone, because you can read their, yeah, you can read not just their, but how they behave, how they move, how they, if they sit comfortable in their seat and so on, but you don't have all those things when you're working on Zoom or any other remote application. So you need to understand how to do that properly there. We trying to read more into, let's say, facial like signals, uh, making sure that you're looking at them at the camera, for example, and not just looking at your screen or someplace else, because that makes them think that maybe you're not with them, maybe you're doing something else. Not look at your phone, because there's a lot of people that doing that in meeting. You can see them, I'm doing something, and then are they even with me? Are they listening? Am I not important enough, and so on? So all of those things are at minimum very important things to have when you're communicating remotely with people.
It's important. And I think your customer will appreciate your dedication as well. What's your take on work-life balance? Does it exist and how it exists for you?
Yeah. For founders specifically, it probably exists less than for other people. And I do try to make sure that our employees do get that. And we do give them the freedom and the control over their own like tasks, their own job. And if they need time off or to work from home or whatever they need to leave earlier and so on, they can of course do that. And we support that as much as, of course, as much as possible. And even if somebody like a parent wants to leave a bit earlier to collect their son, their child from daycare, from school or whatever, it's good. We like that people are doing that, because maybe then they can, when we need that, we know that they will give their own time to us as well when we help them and support them when they need their time. So I think it's a like a mutual connection that has to happen. But of course, for founders, it's a bit different because you're so committed in the company that sometimes you think more about what you need to do inside of the company or on the product or on the development and every other facet of the company itself, and less on yourself and what you need to do. But it's probably good to do that for founders as well.
Sure. Talking about founders, when you have a bad day, like when you're really, really down, what do you do to yourself to be able to get back and have energy and continue working?
Yeah. So I think probably everyone has their own like method on re-energizing. Mine is, I think, mostly music, or maybe like listening to music, or maybe watching something that makes me nostalgic, maybe so like comedies, maybe sometimes something that just lifts up my mood. And those are the things that I connect the most.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot. I think you guys have an amazing culture, have an amazing product, an amazing team. So thank you for doing that and continue growing.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation.
Everyone is listening to us, please make sure find Eric online as well. There's going to be links there as well in his company. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next episode.